Welcome back to class, everybody. Welcome back to class. Okay, today is class number 5. It's our 5th and final class. How exciting and also how sad. I want to miss you guys. We have a lot of good stuff that we're going to be working on today. You guys know how it works, but first, let's go ahead and start the way we always do. Let's check out your animations. Who wants to share their homework animation with the class? All right. Let's go ahead and start with Layla. Go for it, Layla. Thanks to everybody who shared, guys. Awesome job. Holy cow. Your guys' animations have been getting better and better every single week. I hope you guys have noticed that because I definitely have. So awesome work, guys. Man, those are awesome. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and dive into what we're working on today because we have some awesome stuff that we are working on today. Alrighty. Diving on in. So the first thing we're working on today is we're going to be talking about something called squash and stretch. Squash and stretch. You might have heard about this, guys. Squash and stretch is basically the idea that when something hits something else, the force of the impact will cause the shape to change. So the classic example of this is like a bouncing ball. Like if we have a bouncing ball, it'll start off in the air as a circle, but then it'll fall down, and when it hits the ground, the force of hitting the ground will cause the shape to change. It'll get squashed. It'll get wider and also flatter. It'll get squashed like that, and then it'll go back, bounce back up in the air, and it'll go back to being a circle. But for a second, when it's on the ground, it gets squashed because of how hard it hits the ground. And that's how squash and stretch works. Now, the reason this is important is because some things squash more and some things squash less. And this can show how hard or soft something is. So soft things squash more, hard things squash less. So like, for example, if I throw something soft on the ground, like a water balloon, if it doesn't break, it's going to squash a lot, right? It's going to be like bloop, 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 right? It's going to change shape a lot. On the other hand, if I throw something hard on the ground, like a brick, it's not going to change shape at all. It's just going to be like, clunk, I'm a brick, right? It's just going to stay the same shape. So let's go ahead and try this out. Here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and try this. Let's do this. First of all, let's fix our layers because that pesky vector layer has returned, and once again, we must banish him. Go ahead and click on your vector layer. Let's delete that. Go ahead and click on your vector layer and press the minus button to delete it. Then click on OK. There we go. Once again, we have gotten rid of it. Alrighty, and then also let's make another bitmap layer, guys. So go ahead and click on the plus button next to layers and go ahead and make a new bitmap layer. So we should have 2 bitmap layers and no vector layer. I'll give everybody a second for that. Okay, everybody good? Everybody bueno? Now go ahead and change the names of your layers. Go ahead and rename your top layer to bouncy balls. Go ahead and rename your top layer to bouncy balls, and then rename the layer underneath that to ground. All right, rename your top layer to bouncy balls and rename the layer underneath that to ground. Alrighty.
Wait, how do you rename your layer?
Just double click on the name of the layer. Double click on the name and that'll pop up the little box. Alright guys, now once you have that, go ahead and switch to your ground layer. Go ahead and click on the ground layer so that the ground layer is selected. Go ahead and click on the ground layer so the ground layer is selected. And we're going to go ahead and just draw the ground. We're going to draw like a little, just, straight line that can be the ground down here. Let me see if I can try to get a straight line. This week on Cody Tries to Draw a Straight Line. Can he do it? All right, there we go. All right. And then once we have the ground drawn, let's go ahead and switch to the bouncy balls layer. Go ahead and switch to the bouncy balls layer and we'll draw the bouncy balls. And we're just gonna draw 2 of them floating in the air up here, all right? Because we're going to make two different bouncy balls. We're going to make one of them soft and one of them hard. And we'll see the difference between them. So just go ahead and draw two bouncy balls floating in the air up here. Ibrahim, question?
Yes. My vector layer is not deleting. How do I delete it again?
So make sure that you click on it first. Is it selected?
Yes.
Okay, so once it's selected, then go ahead and just right here where it says layers, there's the plus button and the minus button. Click on the minus button, and that'll delete whatever layer you have selected. I'm also going to label mine so I know which is which, because one of them is going to be soft and one of them is going to be hard. So that'll be the hard one and the soft one. Okay, so what's going to happen is gravity is going to pull these downwards. They're going to fall down. They're going to hit the ground. They're going to squash. And then they're going to bounce back up in the air. All right? Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but gravity is just a force that speeds things up in a downwards direction. That's all it does. So it just makes things speed up as they're moving downwards. That's how gravity works. So we talked about this a bit. We talked about how if we want to make something look like it's going fast, we move it a big distance. Here, let's do this. We talked about how if we want it to look like something is moving fast, we move it a big distance each frame, right? And we talked about how if we want it to look like it's moving slow, we move it a small distance each frame. How do we make it look like it's speeding up? Anybody remember? How do we make it look like it's speeding up? Raise your hand if you remember. Bryce, what do you think?
You just make it go a further distance each time.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, like we talked about before, we started by moving a small distance, right? But then each time we move it, it's going to move a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, right? Each time, and that's going to make it look like it's speeding up, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to do with our bouncy balls. They're just going to do that in a downwards direction. So they're going to be moving a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more as they fall downwards. This should be pretty easy. We've done this before. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Here we go. So I'm going to click on the copy frame button. I'll move the bouncy balls a little distance at first, right? Tiny bit at first. There we go. Don't forget to click outside the box after you move them to lock it in. And then each time I'll move it a little bit farther. So now I'll move it a little bit farther. There we go. Then a little bit further. Bryce, I see your hand is up. Is that a question or is that just up from earlier?
It's just up from earlier.
Okay, no problem. Okay, there we go. So it looks like on this next frame, they're going to hit the ground for me. It looks like they're going to hit the ground on this next frame. So go ahead and get to the spot where they're going to hit the ground, guys, and then we'll talk about what to do there. Joy and Natasha, do you guys feel like you're caught up? Let me know if either one of you are having any issues so I can help you out, okay? Hopefully you guys are all caught up, but let me know if you're not. All right, cool. Kind of looks like a face, doesn't it? It's kind of like these are like the eyes and this is the mouth. Ooh, 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 ooh. I am the monster of squash and stretch. Ooh, ooh, ooh. My eyes are bouncy balls. They bounce on my mouth. It kind of hurts. All right, everybody take a few more seconds to get to the spot where they're gonna hit the ground. Then we'll talk about what to do there. Let me know if anybody needs any help with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and what we want to do, guys, is when they hit the ground, they're going to squash. So we want now, because on this frame, they're going to hit the ground, right? So they were falling, falling, falling. And now for me, they're going to hit the ground. On frame 7, it might be a different number for you. But when they hit the ground, we're going to want to make them squash. So what we'll do for that is I'm going to select one at a time, and I'll move it down so it's touching the ground. I'll move it down so it's touching the ground. And to squash it, what we'll do is we'll click and drag on the corner. we'll click and drag on the corner. Because remember, when you click and drag on the corners, it lets you change the size of the shape, right? So we can make it wider and also flatter. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this. Or draw this. I'm going to go ahead and drag this like this. And the soft one, because it's soft, the soft one's going to squash a lot. So I'll do it a lot for this one. And the hard one will squash a little. There we go. So I squashed that one. Now I'll do the same thing for the hard one. Select it. Move it down to the ground. Click and drag on the corner. And the only difference is for the hard one, I just won't do it as much because the hard one's only going to squash a little because it's hard. There we go. I'll give everybody some time for that. Okay, everybody good? Take a few more seconds. Let me know if anybody needs any help with that. What we're going to do next is we're going to have them squash even more. So we're actually going to do 2 frames of squash. They'll squash a bit on this frame, then we'll make another frame. We'll have them squash even more before they bounce back up in the air. All right, one sec, guys. We're going to keep going. Okay, so let's go ahead. Come on. You can do it. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to do another frame of squash. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the copy frame button again. I'm going to go ahead and click on it again. Boop, and I'm going to squash them even more. So once again, I'll select the soft one, and the soft one's going to squash a lot more. So I'll do this one a lot. Move it over. And same thing for the hard one. The only difference is, of course, is that the hard one's going to squash a little bit more. Typical. All right, there we go. Sweet. All right. All right, guys, a few more seconds for that, and then we'll have them bounce back up in the air. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and have them bounce back up in the air now, because that's what bouncy balls do, right? They're going to hit the ground, they're going to squash, then they're going to bounce back up into the air. And when they bounce back up in the air, let's think about it for a second, because what's going to happen is that they're going to be moving upwards, but gravity is still going to be pulling downwards, right? That's kind of how gravity works. It always pulls downwards. So they're going to be moving up, but gravity is going to be pulling the opposite direction. So gravity is actually going to be slowing them down now. Instead of speeding up, they're going to be slowing down. So they're going to be moving up and slowing down. We could just do this one frame at a time. We could just copy it, move it, copy it, move it like we were doing before. But there's actually a shortcut we can use. There's actually a shortcut. Check this out. If I play what we have already, if I play it forwards, it looks like they're falling down and speeding up. Right? If I play it forwards, it looks like they're falling down and speeding up. But if I play it backwards, check this out. If I play it backwards, it looks like they're moving up and slowing down, which is exactly what we want. So what we can do is we can just copy the frames that we already have in backwards order, and that'll do what we want. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So go ahead and go to the frame right before they're hitting the ground. For me, it's number 6. It might be a different number for you. Go to the frame right before they're about to hit the ground. Right before. And the way the copy frame button works is it copies whatever frame you're looking at, and it puts the copy on the next empty slot, which for me is number 9 right here. That's the next empty slot for me, right? So if I copy this frame number 6, it's going to copy 6, and it's going to put the copy right here on 9, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Copy this one, boop. Then I'm going to go to number 5, copy that one, boop. Then number 4, copy that one, boop. Then number 3, copy that one, boop. Then number 2, copy that one, boop. Then number 1, copy that one, boop. So I just copied each frame in backwards order, right? I just copied every single frame going backwards. Everybody go ahead and do that, and that's the last step. Once you go ahead and do that, we can press play. We can smasheth the play button and check it out, see how it looks. We can feast our eyes upon our beautiful creation. Alrighty, we'll take a few more seconds for that. Let me know if anybody needs any help or has any trouble or anything like that, has any questions. Then we'll press play. Alright guys, you ready? Let's do it. Let's press the old play button. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and press play, guys. Let's go ahead and press the old play button. Here we go. Okay, so there we go, right? There we go. Looks pretty good. Looks nice and smooth. And do you see how the one on the left feels softer and the one on the right feels harder, right? They feel different. And that's the power of squash and stretch. That's what it does. It makes things feel harder or softer, and that's why we use it. So I want you to keep this in mind for your animations in the future, guys. Does anybody have any questions about this? So hopefully everybody was able to make theirs look kind of like mine. If you weren't, or if you ran into any issues, let me know. We're going to move on in a second. We're going to go talk about something else. We're going to work on something different. But before we move on, let me know if anybody has any questions about this or problems or anything like that. Let me know if the squash and stretch monster betrayed you. Alrighty. I don't see any hands going up or anything, so that means everybody's turned out perfect, which is awesome. That's what I like to see. Let's go ahead and move on in that case. So we're going to move on and talk about something different now, guys, like I was saying. So let's go ahead and come up here, and we're going to go to File, New to start a new animation. Go ahead and, Natasha, I see your hand. I'll call on you just one sec. Everybody else, go ahead and go to File, New to start a new animation. Of course, if you want to save your bouncing ball animation, you totally can. You can click on Save. You can click on Save, and that'll save it. And we'll go ahead and start a new one. Natasha?
Wouldn't the softer ball be less bouncy?
Not necessarily. There is actually something really complicated about that has to do with what a ball is made of. That determines how bouncy it is, like how high it bounces. And it doesn't have to do with whether it's soft or hard. It's actually, there's a special name for it. I forget what it's called. I think it's called it's elastic, man, I can't remember, but it's how fast it goes back to its original shape, which actually doesn't have anything, which isn't related to whether it's soft or hard. So it's kind of a weird thing, but actually no, a soft ball and a hard ball can both bounce the same height. Just depends. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and here's what we're gonna do. So now we're starting a new animation. We're gonna learn about something different now. Now we're gonna talk about something called anticipation. Anticipación, as I call it. Okay, what is this? This is the idea that when a character is gonna do an action, they're not just gonna do it out of nowhere. They're gonna do smaller little actions that go before the main action, and that's going to make it look more realistic and natural. So let me give you an example. Like if a character is going to jump on a box, they're not just going to be like doing nothing, just standing there. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bam, they just suddenly start flying through the air and they land on the box. No, that's not how it works, right? What are they going to do? They're going to get ready first. They're going to crouch their legs and bend down. They're going to look up at the box. They're going to lift up their arms. They're going to take a deep breath. And then they're going to jump. right? And all those smaller little actions that go before the main action, they anticipate it. They build up to it and they help it look more realistic and natural. So we're going to go ahead and try that out. We're going to try to draw a character jumping on a box, and we're going to do two different versions. We're going to do one version with no anticipation, and then we're going to try to add some anticipation, and we'll see if that makes it look better. So let's go ahead and start off by just drawing a box over here for our character to jump on. Okay. And also we'll draw a character here. We'll just draw like a simple stick figure character. We don't want to make it too complicated. We'll just keep it simple. What should my character's name be? How about Howangulo? Yeah, that's his name. Howangulo. Howangulo is the greatest box jumper in the world. He's the box jumping king. Natasha says Steve. Ella says Sir Pug. All right, his name is Sir Howangulo Pug Steve. William says it must be .j. I don't even know how to say that. .js. All right, his full name is Howangulo Sir Howangulo Pug Steve .js. That's his full name. All right. So go ahead and get this, guys, and then we're going to have our character jump on the box. All right. Ibrahim says, can he dig gold? No, he's a box jumper. He's not a gold miner. His special power is he can jump on boxes. All right. Let's go ahead and, unless there's gold inside of the box. I didn't think about that. Maybe Ibrahim knew something I didn't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. So first, guys, we're going to do no anticipation, all right? And then we'll add some later. So first of all, let's just go ahead and have our character. We're just going to move our character through the air, and we'll have them land on the box. So here we go. I'm going to click on the copy frame button, and I'll select my character, and I'm going to move him into the air. Should be pretty easy. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to, when he's in the air, because right now on the ground, he's kind of in like a standing pose, right? It just looks like he's standing. But when he's in the air, I want him to go to more of a jumping pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the arms and legs, and I'll redraw them in a little bit more of a jumping pose. Like I'll kind of have him tuck his arms and legs in a little bit, so it looks a little more like he's jumping. There we go. All right, so I'm going to keep doing this. I'm just going to keep moving him, copy the frame, move him again. And we're not going to spend a super long time. This should hopefully be pretty easy. We're just going to have him land on the box. All right. Looks like he's going to land on the box in a couple more frames. Looks like maybe actually on this frame. So when he lands on the box, I want him to go back to a standing pose, right? Because he's going to be standing on the box. I could just draw him in a standing pose again. I could just draw that pose again. But there's no reason to draw it again. I already have it. We already have that pose, right? So what I can do instead is I can just copy the one I already have, because on my first frame, he's in a standing pose. Because remember, the way the copy frame button works is we copy whatever frame we're currently on. It copies that frame and it puts it on the next empty slot, which is what I want. So if I just copy this one, it'll put the copy on the next empty slot, and then I can just move him up on top of the box where he's supposed to land. There we go. So now my character is, I finished having him jump on the box. I'll give everybody some more time for that, and then we'll press play and we'll see how it looks. Don't take a super long time on this one, guys. Keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to give you a few more seconds, and then we'll press play. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and press play, guys, and let's see how this looks. So there we go, right? We have our character jumping on the box, and it doesn't look terrible, right? Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it does look like a little bit weird. Like, it's a little bit stiff, because look how he's jumping. He's just standing there, and then all of a sudden, bam, he just starts flying through the air like magic, right? It looks like he has rocket shoes or something. Like, he just doesn't, get ready to jump or anything. He just, bam, just starts flying all of a sudden. Who jumps like that, right? It just doesn't look super natural. So we're going to try to add 3 frames of anticipation. We're going to try to add 3 new frames of anticipation, and hopefully that'll make it look better. Everybody do this. Go ahead and go to the first jumping frame. For me, it's number 4. It might be a different number for you. Go to the first frame where your character is in the air. Go to the first frame where your character is in the air. And like I was saying, we want to add 3 frames of anticipation before the jump. The only problem is that we don't have room for 3 frames right here. All of our frame slots are filled up, so we don't have room for 3 new frames right here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to move over our other frames like this to make room for 3 new frames down here. That's something we can do. We can move our frames around to put them wherever we need to so that there's room, or we can put them in the order that we want. Here's how we do that. To move a frame, first you have to select it. Do you see how I'm clicking on these frames, and do you see how they're turning dark gray? That means that they're selected. You can only move a frame if it turns when it's dark gray. But we don't just want to move one frame. We need to select a bunch of frames so that we can move all of them like this. So here's how we do that. First of all, let's do this, guys. First, let's shrink our playhead because we don't want it to be in the way. Your playhead normally starts out long like this. See how mine is long? But the problem is that when it's long, it can kind of get in the way because it kind of covers up this frame down here. It kind of covers it up and gets in the way. So what you can do is you can just double click on the top where the number is, and that'll shrink it so it doesn't get in the way. So go ahead and do that, guys. Shrink your playhead. Double click on the top where the number is to shrink it down so it doesn't get in the way. Go ahead and do that. And then I'll give everybody a few seconds for that. Let me know if you need help with that. And then what we want to do is we want to select this frame and all the frames after it. Okay, we want to select this frame and all the frames that come after it. So what we need to do is we need to click on this frame and drag to the right. All right, we need to click on this frame and drag to the right, and that'll select this frame and all the frames that come after it. See how they're all turning dark gray? I click and drag and see how they're all turning dark gray? That's what you want. So you want to select all those frames like that. Everybody go ahead and do that. Select those frames, this frame and all the frames that come after it. I'll give everybody a second for that. Let me know if you have any trouble selecting. They should be dark gray like mine. Okay. So now we have these dark gray, right? Now we can move them. Now we can move them. Now that they're dark gray, now we can move them over. So now we can click and drag on them again, and we're going to move them over by 3 slots. We're going to move them 3 slots to the right. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. So now there are these 3 empty slots like this, and that's what we want. Everybody go ahead and get that. Okay. Let me know if anybody needs any help with that step. We're almost done. We're so close!
I can almost taste that gold.
I
I
know.
mean, metal sounds disgusting, tastes disgusting, but it's still really awesome.
It tastes gross, but at least you're rich.
Why would you want to eat gold?
I don't know. Pure gold is edible, actually. I read that in a magazine.
That's all right. I'm gonna not eat any gold. Alrighty, guys. Let's go ahead. And now what we want to do is we want to.
Well, there is like gold paper that's used actually on cake.
Yeah, I've seen that before. All right, guys. Let's do this. All right. Let's do this. What we want to do is we want to fill in these empty slots. Okay. We want to fill in these empty slots because right now there's these empty slots here, and we don't like empty slots. So what you should do is go to the frame right before the empty slots. For me, it's number 3. It might be a different number for you. Go to the frame right before the empty slots, and we're going to click on the copy frame button to fill them in. So boop, boop, boop. I just clicked on it 3 times to fill them in. Huangulo is the greatest box jumper in the world. The poets will tell tales and sing songs of his amazing box jumping abilities for years to come. Oh, Huangulo, he jumps real high and he jumps real low. Will he jump on the box? We'd like to know. Oh, Huangulo. All right. So, second to last step. We're almost done, guys. Second to last step. Now that we have those frames filled in, you can see 4, 5, and 6. Those are my new ones. Those are the ones I just filled in. Those are the new frames I just added. Go ahead and erase the character on those new frames. So it's just the box. Because we're going to draw the character in a new pose on these frames. We're going to draw the character in a new pose. So we want to erase the character so it's just the box on those 3 frames. So now I have these new frames, 4, 5, and 6, no character, just the box, and I'm ready for the last step. Okay, guys, so last step now, very last step is we just want to draw the character crouching down because we want to add our anticipation now, right? So on the first new frame, we'll have him crouch a little bit. Then on the next one, we'll have him crouch a little bit more. And then on the last one, we'll have him crouch a little bit more. So crouch, then more, then more. And that'll be our anticipation. Here we go. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to go to frame 4, and I'm going to draw Huangulo crouching a little bit. I love that name. Huangulo is the greatest box jumper in the world. He's successfully defeated every box. He's the box jumping king. He jumps on everything.
Even his own dog, which is probably pretty painful for the dog and often should be registered as animal cruelty.
Oh no! Huangulo would never hurt a dog. No! Huangulo can't be revealed to be the villain. It's just not right. It can't be. Alrighty, so there we go. I have him crouching a little bit on this frame. Then on the next frame, I'll have him crouch a little bit more. Huangulo has successfully defeated every box he's ever met. Until now. This time it's different. This time it's personal. This box killed his father. Oh boy. Alright. And then the last frame, I will draw him crouching all the way. This will be the last crouching frame. All right, so there we go. I have him crouching on all the frames, and I'll give everybody a little bit of time to finish that one, and then we are just about ready to press play, guys. We're just about done. William says, my Homunculo can fly. Also, his name is Vomitrax. I like that name, Vomitrax. Sounds like he's just constantly vomiting everywhere. Like, that's just power. He just vomits constantly. He can never stop vomiting or he'll die. All right. Let's go ahead and take just a few more seconds, guys. Try to finish it up. Let me know if anybody needs any help. Then we're going to smash the old play button, and we'll see how it looks with our new anticipation. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and press play. Here we go. Okay, so check it out. I don't know about you guys, but I think it looks a lot better now. I think it looks a lot more natural and realistic. Just looks better, right? And that's just what I anticipate.
Defeated the box.
What's that?
And he defeated the box.
That's right. He successfully. Finally, the world can know peace once again. The tyranny of the boxes will come to an end. Yeah, so he jumped in the box, right? And it just looks better now that we add our anticipation. That's the power of anticipation, guys. It just makes our animations look better. Whew, alrighty. Well, that was the big last thing that we were talking about today, guys. That's the last big thing. So we have a couple more things we're going to talk about real quick before we finish up the class. But before we do, any questions, guys? Any questions about anything we talked about today, or just any questions about animation? Now is kind of our, now's a good time because we're almost done with the entire class. Chloe?
How do we add a voice to our animation like you did last week?
Well, we learned how to add the voice last week. Do you mean how to record your own voice? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so for recording our own voices, guys, it's kind of a big topic because it has to do with, you have to learn how to like use microphones, and you have to learn how to use recording software, and you have to learn how to like all these different things with sound. And it's really not, we can't really cover it in this class because, you know, this is an animation class and we can't spend like 3 classes learning about like microphones and stuff. So we're not going to cover that in this class, but I will say this, I do teach a class about that. I teach a class all about recording your own sound for movies and for your animations and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the classroom after class for you guys to check that out if you're interested in taking a look at that class. And you want to learn how to do that kind of thing. Ella?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Hold on. Oh yeah. When we advance to new animation software, will it kind of have the same vibe as Pencil 2D?
The same vibe? It'll be a little bit different. Like, if you take the level 2 class with me, I'll talk about the level 2 class in a second, but there is a level 2 class, and we use different software in that class. It's a little more advanced. It can do more stuff. It's cooler. It's mostly the same. It's mostly the same as Pencil. A lot of the stuff is the same, but it just has some extra features and some extra tools that let us do cooler stuff, basically.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I will totally join the class.
Sweet. All right, guys, well, let's talk about that really quick before we wrap it up. So there is a level 2 class, like I just mentioned. This is the level 1 class where we learn the basics. And then after this class comes the level 2 class where we learn more advanced stuff. So we learn stuff like how to make our characters walk. We learn how to do different camera angles. We even learn really crazy stuff like how to make the program move things for you. Like it can actually animate things for you. And we learn how to do that kind of stuff too. So if you guys want to keep learning animation with me and keep getting better, then I definitely hope to see you guys in level 2 class. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we will continue the epic journey of Homunculo. All right, guys, that's going to be pretty much it. I'll put a link for that in the classroom, okay? So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link to all that stuff in the classroom for you guys to check it out. That's going to be pretty much it, guys. I'm going to say one last thing before we go. Very last thing, which is just that if you enjoyed the class, I'd really appreciate a big fat 5-star review. They really, really do help me out. Basically, if teachers don't get 5-star reviews, then they basically just like don't get to keep teaching. So if you want to help me eat and stay alive, I'd really appreciate that big fat 5-star review. It really does help. And that's going to be it, guys. Awesome work. I had a blast teaching you guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a message. I'm always here to help you guys out. And I hope to see you guys in the next class. Bye, everybody. See you guys.
Adios.
See you guys. Joy says.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. See you guys. You got it. Thank you guys.
I'll miss you. Bye.